Welcome to Wild. I'm your host, Robin Lavasser. They say our biggest fear is not that we are inadequate. It's being powerful beyond measure. In this podcast, I will share how to break through imaginary ceilings, lean into success, discovering your purpose, and understanding how to create the business and life of your dreams. From failures to triumphs and all the tactics in between, let's jump into the wild arena together. Hello, welcome back to Wild with Robin Lavasser. I am so excited. We are starting a new series where you'll get a little bit of one-on-one podcasts of just me, but I am going to bring guests on. And I actually snuck this guest in, sometime last year in 2025. But of course, he's one of my favorite humans on the planet. He is a massive mentor and coach to me. And he is joining us today we're going to have such a fun topic. We're talking about something that is what I see the biggest difference maker for loan officers in general, but really in business, in sales. People probably struggle with, it's probably the top three struggles. If you ask me, the brilliant mind here that really taught me this skill is Mr. Todd Scrima. So welcome, Todd. Thank you for joining us. Very excited. Let's go through. So the skill that I kind of alluded to is implementing. And Todd, you have been obviously in the mortgage industry for 30 years. You have coached, you have been a loan officer yourself, you've been an owner, you've been an incredible student and still are every single day. It's such an interesting thing. I've watched you for years take the stage, host massive events. And one of the things that you've talked about before is 80% of the people walk out of that room, that's a guesstimate from me, and do nothing with what they just heard. And so let's dive into implementation. I'm going to let you kind of take us away on why people don't implement, what you see as tips and tactics. And let's give everybody a really good, hopefully, tool to use after they get off this podcast that will have them implementing more and moving the dial in their business.
So first of all, it's always an honor to be on here. You have a great following. I think you're one of the best leaders in the mortgage industry, period, because you do so many, you're one of the top 3 students I've ever had in my life. I watch you and you soak things up and you immediately implement. So you've got that skill. Let's talk strategically. Let me give you a few ideas. The first thing is, when you say, why don't people implement? The emotional belief system is, I'm not worth it. The second one is, I'm scared. So we have to change our belief system. My belief system that's worked good for me is if someone else can figure that out, I can figure it out. Now, I might take me 6 months and then they did it in 2 months, but I can figure it out. And so that's a belief system that's worked really well. So I just got off the call with one of our top producers. She said, well, this other loan officer in our company's got this all automated. I said, he's a 30-year loan officer. This is your 3rd year. There's a difference. Okay.
And if she knew how long he worked on everything that he automated, you and I know that, but people often, you've relayed this before. People often look at somebody and think they're an overnight success, and you and I joke all the time, you're 30 years of an overnight success, right? I'm 28 years. I giggle at loan officers 3 years in. Do you know what I was doing 3 years in? I was so far off of where you're even at. So I think that's a big thing as well, is just the belief that when they implement, they'll get an instant result, if you will. So yes, we can tackle that as we get going.
Well, that's the third mindset I was going to mention is delayed gratification. So, Tony Robbins, I heard him say this a few months ago, and I just latched onto it. He says, I always overestimated what I could get done in 1 year, but I've underestimated drastically what I could get done in 10 years. And when I heard that, I'm like, that's me. Like, I think the difference is with some people, is there I watched a nature video years ago of a ferret, and he was trying to kill a cobra, and the cobra bit the ferret like 6 times, and the ferret has immunity to cobra poisoning. However, they do feel it, and it knocked him out. Well, the cobra was like, okay, for like 20 minutes prancing around, like, I got him. He's dead. Mm-hmm. He wasn't dead. You seen it, the ferret's eye opened. When I opened, he jumped up and got the cobra by the throat and killed him. And I know that's a weird story, but it showed me like delayed gratification. The ferret fully waited until his body was not paralyzed anymore. The cobra thought he was dead, and he jumped up and got him. So the first thing is, motivation isn't results, right? You just got to understand, being motivated and feeling good in a moment isn't the result. right? So
Yeah,
that's a
I think
mindset.
people the motivation over like people judge often on motivation, not action, right? Like, and you can't mistake action for motivation, right? Like, and
Yeah,
that's a confusing piece.
it's the same with money, right? If someone maxes out their 401k for 30 years, they're going to have over $4 million. Now, how many people have $4 million? Hardly any.
Mm,
Like $4 million, all you got to do is max your 401k every year. And
mm,
lots of people could do that, but they choose not to. So this
yeah,
short-sightedness is a major problem. So what happens in project management is people get into it and they're like, oh, I'll figure this out in 2 weeks, not understanding that that's actually 3 months to get that done.
mm,
So they get 3 weeks in and they're like, I thought it would take two. I'm busy. This is stupid. And I feel like I'm failing, so I'm going to stop. That's dieting. That is,
it's so
and
true. Yeah.
so
So when you get a new idea, because you are a visionary, you are an innovator, and all throughout your career, and maybe even put yourself as a loan officer, if you will, when you got a new idea, when you learned something, because you were the guy that was going to seminars before you started your own coaching company, what happens next? Like for you, what happened? And I know we're all built a little differently, but what happens next for you?
let me get specific. My first seminar was Bio for Lonely with Joe Stumpf, roughly 1996. And
I
it's a two
graduated
and a
high
half.
school that year, for the record.
Okay.
Just to make me feel a little old, sir. Just kidding.
it's it was I think a 3-day program. I came back with a list of 102 to-dos. 102. No joke. So I took notes, and when I'm at seminars like that, I put on the top things I will do for sure. It's a separate section. And when I'm like in a class or I'm listening to someone and I'm like, that's a nugget that I should for sure do, I write it down very specifically. Then when I get back, I ABC that list. A's got to get done in 30 days, B's in 90 days, C's in 6 months. So
Hmm.
that's a framework for how to not get overwhelmed, but have a plan. The next step I do is I have a regular time in my calendar. For me, it's been Friday mornings from 8 a.m. till noon. That was my rhythm for projects. That's all I worked on during those 4 hours every week for about 27 years.
Wow. I didn't even know
So,
that. So you make your list of things that you're going to do. You have your time frame, so you're for sure knocking down the 30-day window, if you will, and then you it's on your calendar to work on projects, and you go start working on square number one, essentially, that you've prioritized
yeah, and
during that time.
the prioritization is important because people mess this up. The prioritization is what's going to make me the most money or save me the most time. That's the first project. The second thing, so the birthday program might get me 3 loans a year. Knowing how to do the two-step close in front of realtors will make me 400 grand a year more. So that's first.
Can we just sit there for a second, you guys? I hope you just heard what Todd said, and I hope it landed. Because what happens to people when they make a list? How do they choose what to work on?
What feels good?
What feels good? What feels shiny? What feels the easiest possibly? What, right? Like we get so, instead of really assessing and looking at something and saying, this, this is going to make me the most money and or save me the most time, right? This is the number one thing that'll solve my current issue, if you will, right? Like this is a big one. And I think we're emotional about that. We're not tactical about it.
Yes. So if you look at that and you prioritize correctly, usually what you'll find is that the A's that you come up with are usually the hardest to do. And when I teach decision making class, I tell them you have two choices. Almost always the hardest decision is the right decision. And it's very hard to it takes a lot of self leadership in order to ingest that and act that way because
Mhm.
our emotions rule us, right?
100%.
And I know I get criticized. You're always like, Todd, you're too logical. Um, I've worked on getting more emotional, more touchy feely.
Yeah.
But when you look at it that way, you say, okay, what's the choke point? What's the
Mhm.
number one choke point in my business? Well, for most people in this market, it's more leads. So that means what we've got to work on is getting more accounts, learning two-step close, developing the target list, things like that.
Yeah.
So let me run through an example.
Okay.
Let's say that, oh, I saw Todd and Robin teach the two-step close. Yeah, that's amazing. I really need to know how to wow people during that first meeting because I got one shot. I need to really know how to get the follow-up appointment. Okay, so that's my A item. So I sit down and I say, okay, I'm going to pick that one thing. That's the number one thing on my list. What are 5 to 10 steps that I need to do in order to accomplish that? Okay. Step one, script out the entire two-step close. I'm literally going to maybe use AI. I'm going to take Todd's two-step close. I'm going to type it out. So, okay, now I got that done. Step two, memorize it word for word. That will probably take you about 10 hours. Step three, start using it with every single meeting. Okay, so I meet with a borrower. I'm going to use some of my two-step close. I'm going to ask the go deep questions. I'm going to really open them up. I think I mentioned this to you yesterday. I had a financial planner pitching me, and he got on the call. We had 30-minute call, and it's tied to something else I'm doing. So I wanted to give the guy some time. I've got great financial planners, and he talked about himself for 15 minutes out of 30 minutes. Didn't tell a signature story, just told me how great his resume was, and it was a total turnoff. And at the end, I just told him, I said, "You screwed up." I said, "I like you. You seem like a decent guy, but you're totally turned me off." Why? Because you got on here to get to know me, and you talked about yourself for 15 minutes straight. You're doing it wrong. I don't have time to coach you on it, but this meeting's over. And it was done. So you write all these things down. And one of them is I need to put together my visual aids. Okay, well, I'm just going to copy the ones that Todd and Robin gave me. Okay, great. So that takes 2 hours. Right. And you write down all these steps, and then you start using it. When you would get into using it, here's what happens with that process. They're like, I mean, with any process, you start a new sport, you want to take up golf. You're not going to be a good golfer the first time you go out and play.
No.
So you got to go into it thinking, this is going to feel uncomfortable. I'm not used to asking deep questions like this. I'm not used to pausing. I don't have great listening skills, so I need to be self-aware about that. I realize that I overtalk and interrupt people. I got to stop doing that. So there's a lot of change management that's going to happen with that one process. That one process could take you 3 months, even done correctly, to really ingrain it in yourself and make it a very natural. The first time I learned that, and that was over 30 years ago, and I came home, I remember my first 3 meetings, I was literally sweating, and I don't really get nervous very often.
No.
I was sweating in front of the clients because I thought I sounded it was so different than how I used to do it. I told you, rebuilding my golf swing, I'm now in month 4 of lessons. It's super uncomfortable, but I'm way further than I was 3 months ago, and I am finally playing a little bit better golf. It'll be 3 more months before I ingrain that because I was doing it a different way for 30 years.
You know what's interesting? Like, let's stay there for a second. There's such a good point in this. Sticking with implementation often comes with discomfort. Fair?
Yes.
Like, you might do it. You talk about implementing, maybe two-step close was the A on the list. You did a great job of like mapping out, I love the written plan. I don't think I officially went to a written plan on some of my implementation. I'm a little more, I'll just go try it, if you will, and then go from there. However, when I think about the golf swing, how easy would it have been after 1 or 2 lessons with a pro who's teaching you and telling you, hey, this is, you've got to change this in order to get the result you want. And it's uncomfortable for you. It doesn't feel probably natural. You're a better golfer with your current swing than you are with the new one he's trying to teach you at this moment. Do you test first? Do you go all in and avoiding the doubt, if you will? Because what I find with people is that they maybe will implement something one time that required 6 months of work and effort and energy, consistency that comes with it's one thing to do it once, right? It's another thing to do something on repeat consistently. And that part of implementation, the long-term or the consistent work that comes behind it, getting started and not stopping, I think is another massive struggle for people.
Listen, I wanted to walk off the course more than 3 times that I can remember during the beginning of that process. And I'm not a quitter, so I didn't quit. But I think a lot of people just quit. This skill that we're talking about is the most under talked about skill in business.
I agree.
And you're like, why do you say that? Because it's the difference between someone doing 3 loans a month and someone doing 12 is really knowing how to implement and keep something implementing, keep working on it when it really sucks. There's a book I read years ago. It's a very thin book called The Dip, DIP. The whole book, I got it in the airport when I was traveling. I read the whole thing. It talks about And he used this example that I identified with. I got scuba certified probably 15 years ago. He says, when you start scuba, oh, it's exciting. I get to go, when I go to Hawaii, I can scuba dive. That's great. So I'm going to sign up for the class. Oh, 2 full weekends gone in a row. I've got to be in a classroom and in a pool for 2 full weekends, 8 to 5, Saturday and Sunday, 2 weekends in a row. I don't want to do that. Okay, got to do it. Oh, got to go get scuba certified. So I got to go in the cold ocean and get over my fear of breathing underwater. I've got to learn the signals. I've got to know how to check the gauge. Okay, now at the very bottom, you get to the bottom of the dip, and that's when you want to quit. And the book said 98% of people quit at that point. 98%. I don't know if that's true, but I think
bet
he's
it
right.
is. I mean, honestly, all the people you've coached over the years, I bet it is.
But then you do your first dive. Dude, that was great. I saw an otter. I saw a sea turtle. Man, that was beautiful. I've never seen beauty like that. We started here, excitement. Now we're actually above because we're scuba certified, and we can do it at any time. And you actually went to the next level. But you did go through this dip. The dip happens for people that have children. Most of us have. You're all excited. The pregnancy's great. I just talked to one of my friends. My daughter is trained in horse riding. It's her second pregnancy. She was in bed sick for 3 months. Sick. You've got your own story about that.
Yeah.
That sucks. Then the baby comes. Ah, it's great. We're above. We had our second child. Then you don't sleep for 3 months. Another dip. So this is just how life works. Once you get your emotions to understand, things always get a lot worse before they get better. Always. You start maxing out your 401k. Honey, we're having trouble with groceries. I'm out of money for the month. Well, we're going to have to eat some beans and rice because we made this commitment to max our 401k. We've got $1,000 less a month to spend. Well, I wanted to buy the new car. Nope, not in the plan. We got to delay our gratification and go through the suck so that we can get to the next level. When we have $4 million when we're 60 years old, we ain't going to be bitching. We're going to live like kings with zero fear about money the rest of our lives. And that is the struggle.
Like, for all the people you've coached, what do you think the impact is truly of the separation of the results of people who actually execute from those who stay stuck in learning mode or lack of implementation mode? Because you've run the company, you've seen every level of loan officer and employee for that matter, and you've seen the ones that climb, and you've seen the ones that just can't quite get there. And I've gotten to experience that more than ever in the last 15 years on my growth, right? And in coaching. How big of a difference does it make to become an implementer? Because I really don't think that people understand what it will do for them.
It's quadruple.
So
if I'm doing 3 loans a month, now I'm doing 12.
Because you implement.
Yep. It's at least quadruple. Quadruple your net worth, quadruple your number of closings, quadruple how good you are at relationship building, quadruple how you feel in your marriage. It's like I was talking to a family member, and she had 3 deaths in her family in the last 6 months. I'm depressed. She's crying for an hour on the phone with me. An hour. I said, honey, go to therapy. You need to develop tools so that you don't feel this way. There are tools. You don't have the tools. A good therapist does. I remember going through divorce 10 years ago now. We made the decision. She made the decision to get divorced. I worked on it for a month, and she would have no part of anything, no marital counseling, no nothing. The next week, I told her, okay, let's find you a place to move out and let's start the process. The next week, I went into therapy. Literally the next week. Texted 5 friends, got 1 referral, saw her the next week.
Implementation. I'm having a struggle. There is a solution. I'm going to take action immediately to find the solution, right? To fix the problem at hand, if you will. So if you were to give advice today to the loan officer, and I'm so interested in what your answer would be, who wants to level truly up their business, right? Everybody wants to grow, if you will. What is one thing that you think that they should actually, implement? And then second part of the question is, how long before you start judging results? Because I think that is, again, it's such a myth how long you need to do something in order to actually say that worked or didn't work.
So I'm going to give you the silly, this is going to sound so silly and so dumb. I want you to take You asked me for a tactic. Here's the tactic. You take a Post-it pad, 3
Okay.
of them, and you write on there, I don't have the answer to my struggles, but someone does. I don't have the answer to
I'm
my
gonna implement
struggles,
right now.
but someone does. Put that on your computer, put it on your bathroom mirror, and put that same sticky note below your speedometer in your car. I don't have the answer, but someone does. What that allows you to do over time is to overcome your ego so that you're open to learning. This is the same principle. So finish this sentence. This is the number one recovery process in the world. My name is Todd, and I am a
Alcoholic.
alcoholic. Now, I'm not an alcoholic, but
I was like,
that's what AA teaches you.
yes.
You can be sober for 30 years,
And you
and
still,
at every meeting, you start with that statement
yeah.
because they want to humble your emotions.
Right? Like if you're not aware of it, if you're not owning the fact that it's the truth, you won't stay in action
You
to
will not change it. You will not change it. Someone thinks that they're not overweight because they want to protect their ego. If they
Mhm.
think that living on credit cards is okay because they're afraid to admit it to themselves. If
Mhm.
they think that, hey, I'm really not good in front of a new relationship and knowing how to bond with them.
Mhm.
Unless you start admitting those things, not in a self-deprecating way, but
Yeah.
in a healthy way. Like I have no problem saying, I've got to get better at this.
Yeah.
Let me read some books. Let me get some podcasts. Let me hire a coach. Let's figure it out.
You're sincerely one of the best at that, despite the success, the wealth that what you've been able to achieve. I've always, it's one of probably my favorite qualities about you is your desire to learn and grow and solve.
So what's the
Um,
belief system behind that? To me, this is my belief system.
yeah,
Learning is fun.
learning is fun. I was going to say, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like I always think like, yeah, learning is fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Like you and I listen to Ed Milet or Mel Robbins. They have some of the best people in the world in their professions that they're interviewing.
Yeah.
I love listening to them. Even
100%.
like I'm not a pro basketball player, but it's interesting to hear what it's like being a pro basketball player and what they had to do to get there.
Fascinating. Yeah.
It's fascinating to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be sitting on the couch a few weeks ago, and I don't really understand how jet engines work. I was watching a show and it had about airplanes, and I'm like, I ChatGPT, how show me visual aids so that I can understand how a jet works on an airplane. How does it create that much propulsion? And it came up with all these diagrams, easy to read. I was like, oh, I never knew that. I have no reason to know that knowledge. I just
Yeah.
think it's fun.
Yeah. But knowledge
You're the
is,
same way.
uh-huh, 100%. Knowledge is powerful. It's fun. It's interesting. I, so one, I love this. I've never written this down before, ironically, and I've been a student of yours forever. So I have it written down. I don't have the answers to my struggles, but somebody does. I always know that you're one of the things Toddism for me is everything is figure outable. Implementation, circling back as we close this out, how long should somebody commit to something before? And I'm guessing this is a moving target in my head. It sometimes could be, but how long should somebody commit to something before they judge results?
1 year.
1 year. 1 year.
I mean, people say it takes 90 days to do a habit. There's some, it doesn't mean you're not going to make progress, but I can't go to my golf instructor after playing golf wrong for 35 years and think, I'm going to fix this in a month.
Yeah.
It will take me a year
Yeah. Of
to change a habit.
consistency, right? Truly consistency. Because it's if you go for 2 months and then go back 2 months later and then go, like it's and you wait in between, you're starting over. That's a different podcast on momentum, if you will, and how big that kills things. But I think that you guys implementation. Todd gave some great tactics at the beginning. I would tell everybody, one, write the sticky note, put it in every place that he said. Two, get the list started of everything that you want to implement. You know what's funny, Todd, is even me, and I feel like I'm a pretty darn good implementer. I still have workbooks and sheets and things that I look down at and go, gosh, I talked about implementing that 5 years ago and I haven't done it yet. And it's not self deprecating to me. There's always new things that you can be doing, gaining complete focus on what what truly moves the dial, why you would choose to implement it makes you the most money or saves you the most time. Maybe you're at a space in life where it gives you the most joy, right? Maybe that is the other one, right? One of the three top value systems, and it's going to do that for you. And then one full year of true commitment and consistency. I love the tactical list of how to do it, what it's going to take to do it. And then how big, very last piece, how big is maybe accountability and or having somebody who's maybe walked that road before you weigh in on your implementation.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to answer this, and it may surprise you. You can pay someone to hold you accountable, and I encourage that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
However, I spent years, like in the core, I don't know if you know this, it was one of my responsibilities as the owner was to follow up on people that quit the program and follow up with, I literally set appointments with them and talk to them and judge their results after they left the program. About 80% of the time, the results actually went down significantly. So here's the part that people miss. This is your life. You are your own leader. So if you want to lose 40 pounds and then gain 45 pounds back, that's your mistake.
Yeah.
That's on you. No one's going to come save you. I'm sorry, it's not a participation award all over the world, but it's when you put something in place, you're doing it for you.
Yes.
You're doing it, hopefully. I like attaching goal change like this to things that are emotional.
Yeah.
The actual process of doing it isn't very emotional to me, but I attach, hey, if I do this, I can send my nephew to college. If
Same.
I do this, I'll have
Yep.
4 million in retirement.
Yep.
If I do this, I can give more money to my church.
Yep.
Like if you like at the end of the day, it's just a big game.
Yeah.
And my last point on this is you can't work on too many of these things. Like you can't have 10 things like this. It's like one, maybe two, maybe one in your personal life, one in business
Yep.
at a time. You're like, Todd, so I'm going to spend a year learning how to be a superior salesperson. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next 18 years, you're going to make quadruple the money. It sounds like a good investment. You know, you might spend 40 hours that year on learning that skill, perfecting that skill, writing everything out. But then for the next 18 years you're working, you're making, instead of 100 grand a year, you're making 400 grand a year. And I can tell you that is a unbelievable, massive difference for people. And I don't even think they understand it half the time.
It's that short-term gain, long-term, right? Short-term pain, long-term gain. It's short-term thinking versus long-term, right? Wins. And that is one of life's biggest dilemmas, I think, on the daily. You clearly have done it well. I'm grateful I still feel like I could use a lot of work on implementation, but when I think about it overall, it's, it's speed, it's consistency, it's prioritization. And ultimately, I can tell you, I believe personally that true implementation for me is one of the biggest reasons for my growth. That is for sure. And I can pinpoint it very quickly with people that they have a lot of ideas, they have very little action, right? They're not implementing. And so, do yourselves a favor, you guys, everybody in the audience, take some of these tactics, start implementing at a higher level, and watch your life improve in general. Watch your wealth improve. Watch your business improve. You will feel incredibly good about the result if you get it going.
And it's fun.
Yeah, and it's fun. Learning is fun. That is right. It is fun. I love it. Well, I appreciate you, sir, always more than you know. And I'm sure that I will have you back 1,000 times over. But if this was helpful, we hope that you share it. Find Todd. He's got his own podcast, The Mortgage Podcast. Todd and I are doing a lot of fun things with a program called Jolt to get loan officers more business. Hit us up anytime. We are here to help you grow just as we've been able to grow, and would love to hear from you. We'll see you guys soon.